Good day, everyone. This is Jobelle Pelagio, and my lesson for today is about the grounded theory approach. Grounded theory design is a systematic, qualitative procedure used to generate a theory that explains at a broad conceptual level a process, an action, or an interaction about a substantive topic. The next slide shows the paradigm of a grounded theory approach. It then proceeds through a systematic procedures of collecting data, identifying categories, used synonymously with themes, connecting these categories, and forming a theory that explains the whole process. Grounded theory is used to investigate the actualities in the real world and analyzes the data with no preconceived ideas or hypotheses. This is based on Glasser and Strauss in 1967. Second, grounded theory has a feature that contains a self-correcting nature. The researcher builds categories systematically from incident to incident and from incident to category. In this way, the researcher stays close to the data at all times in the analysis. This is based on Charmans in 2000. Lastly, grounded theory suggests that the theory emerges inductively from the data, based on Chesbrough and Borisov in 2007. Grounded theory design has developed into many perspectives, each underpinned by different ontological and epistemological assumptions. There are three types of it, namely systematic, constructive, and emerging design. Systematic design emphasizes the use of data analysis and the development of a logic paradigm or a visual picture of the theory generated. It is widely used in educational research and it is associated with the detailed, rigorous procedures identified by Strauss and Corbin in 1990. Open coding, acquired in the first phase, and the grounded theorist forms initial categories of information about the phenomenon being studied by segmenting information. The researcher bases categories on all data collected, such as interviews, observations, and researchers' memos or notes. Axial coding. The grounded theorist selects one open coding category, position it as the center of the process being explored or as the core phenomenon, and then relates it to other categories. The next slide shows the paradigm of the other categories, which are causal conditions, context, core category, intervening conditions, strategies, and consequences. In the third phase, selected coding comes into place as the grounded theorist writes a theory from the interrelationship of the categories in the axial coding model. As said by Strauss and Corbin in 1998, it is a process of integrating and refining the theory through such techniques as writing out a storyline that interconnects the categories and sorting through personal memos about the theoretical ideas. Emerging design allows the theory to emerge from the data rather than forcing the data into preconceived categories. This means the researcher builds a theory and discusses the relationship among categories wherein the generated theory should be appropriately fit the data, should actually work, be relevant, and changeable. Constructivist design emphasizes the views, values, and feelings of the people rather than the process. The constructivist design would focus on how people felt during this process and try to extract meaning from the experience. For better understanding of these types of grounded research design, here's an example. If we conducted a study on a man with chronic illness, the results would vary depending on the grounded theory design that we use. If we use systematic or emerging design, we would focus on the common process of acquiring and dealing with the chronic illness. However, if we use the constructivist design, we would focus on how the men feel during their experience with the chronic illness, as well as trying to determine what it means to have a chronic illness. Choosing among these three approaches requires several considerations. The following are the things you need to consider in conducting a grounded theory study. The decision on what design is best depends on the purpose of the study and the preference of the researcher. It is difficult to say one is better or worse than the other. Rather, each is appropriate depending on the context of the study. This is the potential ethical issues in grounded theory research. These are the steps in conducting a grounded theory research. First, decide if a grounded theory design best addresses the research problem. Second, identify a process to study. Third, seek approval and access. Fourth, conduct theoretical sampling. Fifth, code the data. Sixth, Use selective coding and develop the theory. Step 7. Validate your theory, as validation is an active part of the process of research. And lastly, write a grounded theory research report. The structures of grounded theory studies are scientific and include the problem, methods, and discussion and result. Quality of a grounded theory research. A good grounded theory study presents a theory of a process grounded in the views of participants. This theory is developed from the memos written by the researcher, the linking concepts or categories, the presentation of the theory as a visual model, and the use of systematic, emerging, or constructivist approaches. I hope you learned more about the grounded theory design. That's all for today. Thank you for watching.